Alright, so in the last video we rescued these two telehandlers here. These are a Lull Highlander 844, probably late 80s, early 90s. They're actually really sought after telehandlers, but they need a lot of work. So in the last video we brought these home, just did some quick diagnosis to figure out that pumps are seized up. Both of them are seized up. So we removed this one in hopes to fix it, but I decided after reaching out to Area Diesel Service that I'm just going to take both of these pumps and send them over to them because they know way more about this. And while I'd like to learn it myself, I think it's probably just a better idea to send it off to the people that know what they're doing. So we just need to get this pump pulled out of here, both of them packaged up and sent out, and then we will circle back around and figure out what else we can do in the meantime, or maybe we'll just wait until they're back here. Probably want to hold on to that nut pretty good, because if it falls in that housing, you might be in trouble. So here is the two pumps. That's the DB4, which I believe is a little bit newer. That's the DB2. Pretty much the same pump, but one thing I did notice was that this one was actually spinning here, but not spinning inside of the pump. So something's disconnected in there or something, because I'm spinning this and that's not spinning. So this one didn't have the key sheared off, but something's disconnected. So let's send these out to the proper people. wife's right there. And it's been a while since I've worked on this, and I just haven't found a lot of time to do it, mainly because, first of all, it gets dark earlier, and second of all, I have other projects that absolutely have to be done before the freezing weather. So this has been on the back burner, but I really need to get it going. I need to at least get one of these going for now. I want to focus on one at a time, so I did have somebody that reached out to me on my channel and said that they were going to buy these at one point, and they said that the owner, the original owner, said that this one was the one to get because it ran and it was fine, and they said the other one had a blown engine. I don't think it has a blown engine, but regardless, I think this one is the one to work on because it probably needs less work. Other than needing a fork carriage, I think the rest of it is probably going to be easier than getting the other one going. So I wanted to put it in here so that I could work on it after hours and while it's raining and snowing and stuff. Because that's one reason why I haven't really worked on it, because every time it's raining, it's not in here because I had other projects in here, but I just cleared them out. So now we can sit this in here for a while and we can work on this. And also I can work on it after 4:30, which is when it gets dark. So the main thing we need to do here is just get this running first, just so we can see what it does. I have no idea if the transmission works. I tested some of the hydraulics by turning the motor over a little bit with starting fluid and moving things around. I think most of the hydraulics work, but I don't know if it drives. I have no idea. And if it doesn't, then that could be a huge problem. So the main goal is to just get this up and running, see if it drives, test out the other hydraulics, just sort of see the major problems and then work from there. I really have no idea where this video is going to go, but I guess we'll find out. The last time I worked on this, a few weeks ago, I got it all set up for the injection pump, and I think the first thing we need to do is get that injection pump installed and try to start this. I did get the injection pump back from Area Diesel Service. So now let's go ahead and unbox everything and we'll start putting that in here. So Area Diesel Services, who rebuilt these pumps for me, and they have a trend going on with how they open boxes. So I'm going to try to do something similar. Look at that. They must know I love hats. How cool is that? I gotta get some merch together so I can send them back some. Even got their own gloves. Look at that. ADS, Area Diesel Service. 4 pairs of gloves. That's cool. How awesome is that? That does not look like the same pump. But it's not about what it looks like, it's about how it functions. And I'm sure this will function great now. This is the DB2, so this is going to be for the other machine. So we'll put this one aside and open up the other one. So this is the DB4. And you can tell the difference from the mounting flange. This one has more of like a honeycomb, which is the older DB2 style. This is the DB4, newer style. They are very similar though, as you can see. So this is very professional how they did this. They got caps on here. Yeah, cap right there. Anything that's important, they got caps on. Very, very nice job they did on this, on both of them. I'm going to tell you guys throughout the video, if you need anything to do with diesel, whether it's injection pumps, turbos, or any other thing that you need, filtration, injectors, anything that you need for a diesel engine, whether it's a truck, car, machine, big truck, check out their website or call them up. They also have a YouTube channel too, and that link will be in the description for the video of rebuilding these. They really helped me out on this. So here's what I figured out so far. This pump has the two lines directly across from each other, which you can't really see, but this pump is timed right now to be on top dead center number 1 cylinder on the compression stroke, which means that if we put this on top dead center on number 1 cylinder on the compression stroke, that Woodruff key should be exactly where it is right now on this pump, but it's not. That's facing about the 2 o'clock position right now. If you look in here, that Woodruff key slot is at about the 4 o'clock position. So I'm not sure if it was like that originally when somebody else put this pump in, or whether they tried to change things. I don't think that anything can slip inside of there, because basically you're just timing this injection pump to the cam, and the cam is pretty much set where it's at. I don't think you can move that. And even with this injection pump not in here, you can't change the timing of that gear right now. If you could, I would just turn it back to where it needs to go, and then we could put this injection pump in, but that's not the case. So what I need to do here is rip out the radiator, and there's a oil cooler, and we need to just pull this all out, remove that timing cover, and we need to adjust the timing, which is probably going to mean pulling that pulley away from where it's supposed to go, setting it back in. I'm really trying to figure out why it would be like that, but there's no sense in wasting a whole bunch of time when we can just pull everything out and check it and see what's going on. So that is the injection pump pulley, and I've tried messing with that. I've tried pushing it up and over and up to the left. I can't get that to turn and skip a few teeth. So it is what it is. We're just gonna tear apart this timing cover. It is absolutely caked with stuff on it, but I don't have the ability to just pressure wash it right now, so we're just gonna deal with it. I'll clean it off once we get it out of here. that's like that because that's a stud and it's supposed to be sealing the antifreeze in there, I guess. I gotta take the water pump out. It's literally like 1/8 of an inch from clearing this right here because there's a stud right here. If this stud came out like this one did, then it would be fine. But of course, the one I didn't want to come out came out, and the one I do want to come out didn't come out. Luckily, the coolant is all drained out though. Somebody was in here. I don't know why they were in here. Maybe they thought something was wrong, but somebody changed it because on this pulley, this is meant for either a 4 or 6 cylinder, and there's a mark for each one of them on here. So that's the 6 mark for a 6 cylinder, and that's the 4 mark for 4 cylinder. It looks like they had it timed for a 6 cylinder. I'm just a little baffled on why they had this apart though. Like, you don't need to take this apart to replace the injection pump. But we're also going to check the cam timing, which is this right here. I don't think that that's going to be wrong. Actually, I'm looking right now and it's not. So I don't have a straight edge on me, but I can see that there's a mark right there. And that should be pointing directly towards the crank. And it is. John Deere has a special tool to check the timing, but you can just use a string too. But just by eye, I can see that things are fine. Like, this is a balancer shaft, and that's pointing directly towards the crankshaft. This is another balance shaft, and this mark is pointed directly towards the crank. So that looks good. One of these is the oil pump, and either way, it doesn't matter. One of these is just a pulley, and one's the oil pump. But either way, that doesn't matter. That doesn't need to be timed. The only thing that needs to be timed is the balance shafts, the camshaft, and the injection pump. And I think that what happened is it didn't jump teeth or anything. Somebody just had it in wrong. I'm just still baffled by why they were in here. That's all. I gotta figure that out. So what we're gonna do now is set the injection pump in there, set the timing right. I wasn't able to get a new gasket set for this, but I'm pretty sure that I could just make gaskets for all of these things. Like the timing cover, that you just make a gasket for. The thermostat housing, you can make a gasket for. And the water pump housing, I can make a gasket for that too. So that way we could put this back together. It is blizzarding outside, so I was gonna go to a John Deere dealer and get some gaskets, but yeah, there's like 8 inches of snow on the ground, so we're just gonna do it the alternative way. I'm also just gonna drain the oil out and flush it out. I'm not gonna drop the oil pan, it's just too involved. I think I would need to actually remove the motor mounts, jack the motor up, because I don't think the oil pan's going to clear the differential on the axle. So I'm just not going to get involved in that right now. You would think that they would do a little bit better of a job placing that oil pan drain plug. man, this is getting everywhere. There's definitely no good way to do this. So for the purposes of moving forward here, I'm going to mount this injection pump. We're going to put back together all the stuff that we just took apart. But then I'm going to take all these hard lines, I'm going to take them off one by one and blow them out. I don't even know how that's possible. These are like not even tight. Look at that. Okay, I think I should just go ahead and take all these injector lines off. I want to make sure I clean this fuel system out really good, because I'm sure that's what caused the injection pump to have a failure. And by the way, if you didn't see the video, I'm going to say this several times, go over to Area Diesel Services YouTube channel and check it out. They got a 2-hour video about restoring both of the pumps for both of these machines, and clearly the issue was definitely contamination, mostly water getting into the injection pump and causing rust and causing everything to seize up. So we definitely got to make sure that that doesn't happen again. And I can tell you right now, just by looking at these injectors, they are packed full of rust. So they are definitely not going to work. So I got to get some new injectors ordered up. Okay, so we're gonna take off the return and the inlet and all the return lines, place the injectors, clean out the tank, all that good stuff. But for right now, I want to get the injection pump mounted so I can get the timing cover back on. This injection pump looks so good. It feels like a crime to not have everything around it brand new bolts, brand new studs, brand new washers, brand new nuts. But we're working with an old machine here. And on the video from Area Diesel Service, it looks like they reused this housing. So I did make a mark on here for the exact, what do you call it, static timing, like the external timing. So I should be able to just turn this till I hit my mark. Now, I'm not sure if this timing is going to be correct because it wasn't even close to correct on the gear. So I may have to kind of mess with this once we get it up and running. It should run though, although I am closer to the top of that. I think you want to put it in the middle if you don't know where you're supposed to be. I think it should still run though, it's close enough. So now you can see where the Woodruff key is. Now let's see if that lines up with the number 4 cylinder for this gear. Okay, so something is definitely still not right here. I don't understand what's going on, but number 4 cylinder is way up here. It should be down here. Because the cam, no, the cam is in time right now. Something's really weird here. The cam is in time with the crank right now, because the crank is set on top dead center number 1 cylinder. The cam is pointed directly towards the crank. So what does that mean? If the cam is in time and the balancers are in time right now, I almost think that maybe the injection pump is off. Yeah, because basically that woodruff key has to point basically at the crank within a degree or two. Let's just put it there and see if we can see another mark in that injection pump. I don't think so though. I think there's only one mark. That's approximately where that needs to be. But that is not lining up. Now these pulleys are in time. Alright, so here's the deal as of right now. I just talked to Kurt over at Area Diesel Service. He said to ignore the mark on the injection pump window, because that may have been from a previous setting. It may have even been a part that they replaced that was refurbished that already had a timing mark on it. He said that that doesn't matter. Because this is keyed, it can only go on one way, and just ignore the timing mark. So that's good news. The bad news is, I think I probably just did all this for nothing, but at least we're learning something. At least it's good to verify that the timing is correct. It might have been correct before, but that's okay. I'm good with taking the time to verify that things are correct. So from the crankshaft, we got this wire that just sort of centers itself on the crankshaft. Bring it up to the center of the shaft on the injection pump, and you can see the number 4 mark is directly behind that. You see that? I mean, you can look from all different angles and say, oh, it's off, but if you look at it straight on, this is perfectly square with it. That mark is right behind that line. And it would have to be off quite a bit for it to be out a full tooth. So if it was a full tooth out, it would be like way over here like this. So we've verified that our cam, the mark is directly behind there. See that little mark? It's right there. It's right behind that wire. Perfectly centered with the crankshaft. Just to verify, we've also verified that the balancer shaft is directly behind as well, and then the other balancer shaft is also directly behind. So everything is in time. The oil pump does not get timed. So at this point, all we need to do is put the nut on here, and then we can start putting things back together. So we got to put this stud back in here because remember that was leaking antifreeze out of it. So I'm thinking Loctite 545 would be good on it. I don't know. I mean, this is meant for pneumatic and hydraulics, but I don't see why coolant would be harmful to it. So that's a thread sealant. So as you can see, I decided not to put the front crank seal on here. Yes, I know I should have done it, but you know what? To get this radiator off and the fan and everything else, it probably took 15 minutes, so if it leaks, I'll do it later. Right now, this keeps me moving forward, and I don't see anything wrong with that seal. It wasn't like brittle or anything. It had plenty of elasticity to it, so it's probably been replaced at some point. You know, on these John Deere engines and any other engine that takes these pencil style injectors, these things are super cheap. It's probably the cheapest injector that you could possibly find for any engine. So that is a good thing about these engines. Like if you're ever in doubt about the injectors, just replace them because they're like $40 a piece. And it's really nothing to install them either. You saw, I just popped them out of there and popped the new ones in. No big deal. On a lot of engines, you got to take out rockers or the whole rocker box. You got to do all kinds of stuff. It's just, you know, a crazy amount of work to put injectors in. But on these John Deere engines, for some reason, they're just crazy easy. I'm glad that they also came with these tees too, because the tees that I took off here are filled with junk. One thing I don't understand about these injectors is usually the space that you have at the end of the nozzle into the cylinder has to be within like a few thou. Otherwise you can actually burn up a cylinder if it's too close or too far away. With these ones, it seems like that could wildly vary with the way that they're set up. But maybe it's just not as important with this style of injectors. I really don't know. Kind of baffles me because there's not really a secure way to get a certain torque on the actual nozzle itself, because you're on the side of it torquing this down with these pieces of sheet metal. There's no way that you can get an accurate amount of pressure going down, which there's a gasket that seals between the top of the head here and this nozzle, and it seems like that gasket is pretty soft, so you could be further down or further up depending on really how much resistance this has, which it has quite a bit right now because it's got a brand new O-ring on the end of the nozzle. I don't know, maybe I'm just worried about it too much, but it's just my experience with injectors has been that you really got to get a good torque value on the actual pressure going down into the cylinder. So now every component of this fuel system is going to get thoroughly inspected and cleaned before I put anything back. So at this point, we're just using these pieces going in between, but I want to make sure that there's daylight when I look through that before I put that back on, because if you have a clogged up return port, you can mess with this injection pump, possibly even make it fail. So we definitely want to make sure that everything, the supply and return, is completely 100% clean. I don't know if you guys can see any of that, but there's just tons of junk in there. Just look at these return ports. Absolutely caked with stuff. I mean, it's not like plugging it up, but it's definitely not something I want going back into the fuel system. That. Look at all that junk in there. So I think we're just going to work backwards from the injectors all the way back to the tank, get everything spick and span. I'm going to replace this whole fuel line right here. That's all water. Every bit of that is water. Still water. It's pure water. Oh, there's a little bit of rust. And more water. Oof. Okay, so this is the lift pump right here, and for some reason they added this extra electronic lift pump here. Now, I'm just going to eliminate this because I turned the engine over without this, and this pump was definitely working. It's brand new anyways. So we're just going to connect our fuel line directly to this lift pump. And these have like a little primer on the back of them. So this is the diesel tank right here, and this is the hydraulic oil. I would like to just take this out to clean it, but they're together and they're welded together. So I'd rather not mess with the hydraulic part of it. So I'm gonna just drain this diesel tank out. There's a plug right there. And I'm gonna run it through this portable fuel filter, which also takes out water. That way I can reuse it, because it is good diesel. It's just got some water in it. I think I got most of the water out, but there might still be a little bit. I think I've come to the conclusion that this is why there's water in here, because the gasket around here is all broken. So the fuel tank actually looks really good on the inside. I don't see any rust. It's super clean, but there's just a lot of water in it. Well, that's water. So apparently got some water in here since I've gotten the machine, because I drained most of the water out at one point. That's definitely water. You can tell how it's beaten up. You know, judging by how dirty this filter is already and how much junk there is in the bottom, and that's not even the first gallon out of here, I'm not gonna save this stuff. Maybe I'll eventually take the stuff off the top and reuse it, but right now I'm just gonna drain this thing. There's good diesel in there somewhere, but it's not worth it. Okay, so never mind what I said about it not being dirty. It's extremely dirty down there. There's like a 1/4 inch layer of like sand and dirt. And there's actually a fuel neck for a diesel can in there. I don't know, it's really hard to see, but is not looking good. The walls look good, like they're not even really rusted. If I could get the camera to look like above about ½ an inch from the bottom, the walls actually are not even really rusted, but the bottom is pretty bad. So I got some cleaning to do here. Getting a lot better. I've already taken a massive amount of junk out of there. All that stuff in the bottom is water. And in the corner there, that's all just like sand and stuff. Okay, so I'm pretty satisfied with that. I know it still looks dirty, but it's mainly just rust. A little bit of pitting. You can see there's fluid on the bottom and it's perfectly clear. I spent a lot of time cleaning this out, a lot of time, and a lot of rags. I probably got about ½ a cup of junk out of there. So I got some new fuel line. This is 5/16 for the supply. I got 1/4 inch for return. That's what they had on here. I don't know if that's correct or not, but that's what I'm going to use. new filter slash water separator. So we got everything on the low pressure side all buttoned up, got the tank cleaned, got 2 new fuel lines, send and return, got a new fuel filter, eliminated the lift pump, the second electronic lift pump, cleaned out, inspected all of these return lines here on the injectors. One last thing I would like to do, this line goes from the fuel filter to the injection pump. I want to clean that out. And then at that point, everything on the low end is done. And then we just got to clean out the lines that go from the injection pump to the injectors. That's the high pressure side. Okay, so as I was cleaning this line out, I discovered there is a hole right here. So I got to figure out how I'm going to remedy that. I don't think welding it is a good idea, but maybe brazing it. It's just a low pressure line, so it's not that important, but it definitely can't be leaking like that. Alright, so I think that will do the trick. I tested it with air and soapy water and I didn't see any leaks. So since this won't have very much pressure in it, maybe 10-15 pounds, I'm sure it'll be fine. If it's not, it's easy to get to, and we'll do it again. I've never used these brazing rods before, but it seemed to work pretty well. You gotta really heat it up hot though. This is a bronze flux coated brazing and welding rod, and it needs to get up to 1600 degrees to work. So MAP gas kind of barely does it. So I noticed there was some crusty stuff right on this fitting coming out of the filter, so I guess we gotta kind of dismantle this filter, see what's going on here, because anything after that filter, if it's still dirty, it's going to go right into the brand new injection pump or freshly rebuilt injection pump. Take the cap off of here. Yeah, I think I see what happened. I don't know if it was me or somebody before me, but I think somebody arced this onto the starter here, and I think that's why that hole was there. Not saying it wasn't me, it could have been. So here's two of the injector lines, the high pressure lines coming out of the injection pump going into the cylinders, or into the fuel injectors anyways. I can't get anything to go through these. I'm trying to blow air through them, nothing. They're completely blocked up. I might have to throw a wire through them or something, but I thought maybe brake parts cleaner and 120 psi, but no, I'm just getting nothing. Okay, I got some air bubbles. That's something. I'm using 0.025 welding wire. Okay, now I stepped it up to 0.035. Of course, that won't make the bend though. I almost think I need to get new injector lines. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to get these clean. Okay, so I got one of these freed up. So now I know the kind of baseline that they all should be at. I think it's this one here. Yeah. Put a little brake parts cleaner in here. That's what it should be right there. But this one, it's not doing that. It's got like a very small pinhole, but it's not enough to make any flow go out of it. So I'm going to keep working at it with some wire. Problem is the wire only goes so far and then it gets stopped up. So I gotta figure something else out. Just get stopped up about halfway through here. Huh? Well, maybe that brake parts cleaner is starting to work. I think it's probably just rust, so the brake parts cleaner is probably not doing a whole lot. But maybe it's just something. Just got further than I've gotten so far. So maybe. Oh, look at that. I got something. Oh yeah, okay. That looks like it's doing it. It's a shame that we couldn't find out exactly what it was. But I'm just glad to see it's... Yeah, okay, so both of those are freed up. Let's go get the other two. So the high pressure of the injection pump will probably just blow these out, but I just don't want to take any chances with that injection pump. There's no reason to. Let's just do as much as we can to avoid any conflict with that injection pump. Yeah, that one's definitely blocked up. Oh, that one's free. Okay. You can see that the brake parts cleaner is just right up at the top. It won't go down at all. Oh, I got a drip. Oh, we got another drip. Actually, that seems like water. Yeah, that is water. It's definitely water. At least there's some movement to the other end, though. Oh, there we go. That was it. So I'm adjusting these valves right now, and the exhaust is supposed to be 18 thou, and the intake is supposed to be 14 thou. I put 18 and 14 together, and I still got a gap in there. Now I'm curious to see exactly what kind of gap we got here. Whatever these two together are. So that's 20 thou and 21 thou. So that's 41 thou that I got on this. You can hear it. That's the exhaust. Let's see. The intake on this side isn't quite as much, but still. Yeah, another one, 40 thou. So, let's adjust these. 18 for the exhaust. So right now I got a pin in the flywheel at top dead center on cylinder number 4, which is what I'm working on. Now I'm going to spin it over to number 1 top dead center. Now it's pinned at number 1. Massive amount of play again. So now you can start putting stuff back together. Exhaust manifold, valve cover, radiator, belt, water pump, thermostat housing. And once that's all together, we can test this out. really, really bad. So I don't know why I didn't think of getting a new filter, but that's kind of a problem. I'm gonna see if I can get one at like my local Napa or something, but chances are they probably won't have both of those. So this thing would probably be better to run with that intake tube taken off, honestly. Just to get it started and see what's going on. So at this point, really what I need to do is just mount the muffler and put diesel in it, put oil in it, put coolant in it, and probably gonna have to top off the hydraulic fluid too. So basically just all fluids, which I have all that stuff. So I'm not gonna let that filter stop me from starting this because we're so close. So for the coolant, I am 100% sure that this engine is sleeved. So you want to use the pre-charged that has the SCAs in it. I actually do have a way to test to see if you have enough of the charge. And I also have an additive that you can add to regular antifreeze. But I got 3 gallons of this, so let's just put this in. Let's see if we can get this fuel system to prime. I think what I need to do is take off this little cap here. And it's got like this little, like check valve almost. That like lets the air out. I thought that that was actually an air purge valve. Well, I guess it is, but there's this right here. Little lever right here. Feel the injection pump is warm, so the solenoid is getting power. I'm gonna have to prime it. nothing on that yet. Don't work. Here, let's just put this here and try to give it a little gas while this is happening. Maybe the gas pedal is not set correctly. So let me give you a little rundown of where we're at right now. So I got everything all back together. I tried to get this thing fired up. It will not fire. I could get it going on starting fluid easy. I know there's compression in it. And when it got going on the starting fluid, it smoked like crazy, like unburnt fuel. So also I know it's getting fuel because I cracked all the injectors and it's definitely squirting fuel out. But I had a suspicion that the timing was wrong with the injection pump. So I got a hold of Area Diesel Service and I told them what was going on, and we're trying to figure out exactly what is going on. So they told me to take the pump out and put compressed air in the number 1 cylinder firing port, which is this one right here, and put some air pressure to it. So I put 120 psi. I made this little adapter here to go into 120 psi, and then they told me rotate the shaft until it kind of locks up. So I did, and they said that that's like just before the number 1 firing sequence. So in other words, that's just before top dead center, but it should at least give you an idea of where the timing should be. And from what I can see, the timing is out about 90 degrees. So I've been trying to figure out why that would be. And basically in these injection pumps, there's a drive shaft and it can be rotated about 180 degrees. So you can get it out by 180 degrees by not putting it in the right spot. But it's not out 180 degrees, it's out 90 degrees. Also, the timing mark on here correlates with that too. So if I put this engine on top dead center number 1 cylinder on the compressor stroke, those 2 lines inside there should line up, but they don't. And to make them line up, it's about 90 degrees off, which also correlates with what I'm trying to deal with right here with this being 90 degrees out. So I just got poking and prodding around parts diagrams and just looking up injection pumps, and I finally, on the John Deere website, I looked up the actual injection pump for this machine, and I realized that it's supposed to be a DB2 that's in here, and this is a DB4. So somebody replaced this with this injection pump that's not for this machine. The DB4 that I had was for Deere 4045T, which is turbo. It's for a DT004. Well, this is a DF001. So it's a totally different engine. It's the same for the most part. I'm sure the block is probably the same, but the timing is different. The idle is different. I'm sure the fuel flow and possibly the pressure is different. So then I got a hold of Area Diesel Service, and I told them that, and they said, yeah, that's probably what it is. So they said it should still work with this engine, but what they suggested is to take the key out and set this to top dead center number 1 within this window, and set the engine to top dead center number 1 on the compression stroke, and then put it back in without the key and just tighten it down and see if it runs. So that's where I'm at right now. I think that's what I'm going to do. It's a pain to put this thing in and take it out because the radiator hose is right in the way, so you got to drain the radiator every time you do it. So I'm going to put it back in, and I'm not even going to put any fluid in the radiator or anything. It'll be fine for a few minutes of running it. I'm not going to run it long enough, because the only other option at this point is to actually get a DB2, which is like $1,600, which Area Diesel Service said that they have a core that they could rebuild for me, but they've already done so much for me. I don't want to bother them with that kind of stuff. And then we'd have to try to sell this to recoup some of the money out of it. I can't tell you how thankful I am to have Area Diesel Service, just an email away, and they get back to me instantly too. It's really nice, because I'm just, they're the wizards when it comes time to this kind of stuff. There's not many places left that do what they do, and they're so willing to help too. It's really a blessing. When you get involved in these older machines, these older mechanical injection pumps, they're the lifeblood of this machine. If you can't get the injection pump or get it working, or whatever the problem might be with the injection pump, that's like literally the heartbeat of the machine. So you have no pulse if you don't have that. The diesel engine relies so much on this injection pump to work properly, and these injection pumps are very finicky too. They need good, clean fuel, and if you don't have that, they can go bad very quickly, and it becomes very costly. So anyways, enough about that. Let's pop this in there. I already have the engine on top dead center number 1 on the compression stroke. So all we got to do now is turn this shaft until the 2 lines line up, and then we should be good to go. We'll put this back in, hook all the lines up, and hopefully we can fire this thing up. So let me give you a close-up with a different lens so you can see inside of there. It's pretty hard to see. But basically that line on the right is going to be stationary, and then there's going to be a line on the left that you'll see line up with it. Actually, it's there right now. That's funny, because that's exactly where I stopped when I felt the shaft slightly lock up, which is exactly what they were asking for. It's right on the mark right now. That's the scribed mark that Corey put into this when he was rebuilding this. That's top dead center number 1 on the compression stroke. So it's actually ready to pop back in right now. I didn't even have to do anything. That's pretty cool. So I feel pretty confident in this working. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the retaining compound on here right now. This is like a bearing retainer so that you don't have a bearing slip. If I need to remove it, it'll still come out. It's just come out a little bit harder. Just want to check to make sure nothing moved. Now I'll go ahead and put the nut on. She's running. I got the muffler off right now, so it's horrible sounding, but it's running on its own. Let's see if we can fire it up again. Wasn't even smoking that bad, and I'm sure it's not perfectly externally timed with the pump. Let's see. Oh man, let's put some coolant in this and the muffler on, and let's see if it even drives. That'd be awesome, right? The transmission actually worked. That would be like a huge bonus. I'm hoping that's just foam because it was low on fluid, but I have a feeling that that's water. I don't know, I think it's like a 50-50 shot. Could be water, could just be foamed up because it's got no hydraulic fluid. I don't know. Really hoping I don't have to flush everything out. That gets really expensive. I gotta come up with some way to do that, to separate water. One thing I also noticed when I was driving this, it makes a really bad noise when you go from forward to reverse. And when you hit the brakes, it's like a giant clunk. I thought maybe it was the universal joints on the drive shaft, but they seem to be tight. So I was looking around down here and I was like, oh, there's no drive shaft here, which is not the noise, but that kind of is not great. I don't know how I would go about getting a drive shaft. And then also I got looking, and this is the rear end right here. So then I got looking, and I was feeling around on the front drive shaft, and I was like, man, how is that spinning that much? It spins about 90 degrees before it catches on. The transmission is in neutral right now, so that's fine. But the front end, there's got to be something wrong with it, because why would it spin like that? Look, from there to there, it doesn't move the machine. And I hear a clunk in there too. The clunk might be normal, but moving it that much without the front end engaging is concerning. So then I got looking, and that's leaking like crazy right there. That this front end here from this part is leaking. It's not crazy, but it's something. Looking around down here, it gets pretty scary pretty fast, because there's that, and then there's these steering cylinders, which, oh, look at that cute little cylinder right there. But I know how that goes. I know how these cylinders go. They're not fun. And you know, just like the ball joint in it is completely shot. But how much do I get involved in that? We're not talking about driving 70 miles an hour down the throughway. And then you look, and that steering cylinder is leaking. So that's no fun. And then you look around, like, and the valve bank is not too bad. It looks like it's maybe a good pressure wash, and then there might be a couple seals here and there, but not too bad. But then you look at the rear end, and it's like, oh, that's leaking. That steering cylinder is leaking. The other steering cylinder actually looks decent, but 3 out of 4 cylinders, that's not great. All right, so I just got back from getting 50 gallons of hydraulic fluid, because I got looking for the manual for this thing, and apparently it takes something like 47 gallons of hydraulic oil. I'm sure there's 10 or 20 gallons in there right now, but man, that's a lot. It's like $10 a gallon around me. So this machine takes $500 worth of fluid. There is one cylinder in the boom that's really long, and I'm sure that that takes up a lot of fluid, because the tank itself looks like it can't be more than 30 gallons. So there must be another like almost 20 gallons in the rest of the hydraulic system between all the cylinders. Oh yeah, and there's that cylinder too. See that big cylinder right there? This thing is, I don't know, 8 feet long. So it's probably got an inside diameter of about 4 inches. And then there's just all the other miscellaneous cylinders, which again, there's another one like this in the boom that's even longer. So yeah, it definitely stores a lot of fluid within the cylinders. But the good news is, letting this sit overnight, I don't see any more milky oil So I think that that was just foam from it being low. When it gets low, the pump tries to pump and it agitates it, and it really foams it up a lot. So I think, fingers crossed, I think that's what happened. So hopefully, I think what I can just do is add some fluid, and I think we should be good to go, which is a major obstacle avoided if that's the case. Because trying to get the water out of these systems can become very costly. that big old flagpole. Our water temperature gauge seems to be working. We got engine oil pressure. This gauge is working. Actually, it looks like we're kind of charging the battery right now. Maybe. Fuel tank level, I knew that wasn't going to work. I didn't hook that back up. The transmission oil temperature, that's going to take a long time to go up because it's cold out. So unless you're really running this in a high gear, it's not going to go up anytime soon. But yeah, this cylinder is leaking like crazy. Definitely got to address that. Somebody put a rag there just to catch the fluid, but that's something that definitely needs to be addressed soon. And then also the cylinder inside the boom is leaking too, and that's gonna be some work. But we got a good start here. And best of all, it's running great. There's no smoke. Look at that. Clean as a whistle. So basically, when you go back to here, between the transmission and the rear axle, you can just spin this yoke around and nothing happens. So I'm trying to figure out whether it's going to be on the planetary end, which is the end of the wheel here, or if it might be part of the differential assembly. Now, I am pretty sure that this thing right here is the brakes. And it brakes both the left and right side at the same time through the differential. I don't know much about that system. There could be a clutch type assembly in there. I don't think so, but there could be. But I think it would just be easier to see what's going on and to test what's going on by pulling this cover off here, draining the oil, and seeing what's going on. Because if I spin that yoke and nothing happens over here, then most likely the problem is over there. If I spin that yoke and something does happen over here, then most likely the problem is right here. That wasn't tight at all. Usually when that happens, that means somebody's been in here recently, which is usually not a good thing. As to be expected, extremely dirty, very thick, a little bit of metal shavings. That's like not supposed to happen. It does not seem very good. So we are definitely missing some components out of here. I don't know why they would have bothered putting fluid back in if they did that. That's kind of weird. But you can see there's the spider gears, but there's nothing to go in between here to hook onto that drive shaft there. And you can put this in one spot where it actually catches on something. Well, maybe not. Like at some point, kind of, yeah, actually, yeah, if you put it all the way back like that, it does do something, like it grabs onto something. But you can see there's a snap ring groove right here. So this is supposed to be set at some point with the main gear that goes right here. And I think that that gear holds it in place. Maybe it holds it back here where it kind of grabs onto something. But in any case, this is doing absolutely nothing right now. Let's see if this spins. If I put it like all the way in. Even that though, it's like not catching things. Something's definitely not right here. I almost think that there could be something wrong with the differential and it was probably locking up and not moving. So somebody took this gear out. That might be what it is. Let me push it all the way in where it kind of engages. Let's spin the yoke. Nope, nothing's happening. You know, the final drive or the planetary is one of the most neglected and abused parts of almost every piece of heavy equipment there is. It's just something that always gets it's just one of those parts that just never sees any maintenance on it. And they're very important to keep up with. But I've seen machines that go their whole life and never have the oil changed in them. You know, to keep up with these machines, I'm not going to say it's easy, it's definitely not, but it's something that needs to be done. Greasing joints, a lot of greasing joints on this machine. You could spend a half a day greasing joints on this thing. But then there's, You know, all 4 of these planetaries need to be changed out every once in a while. It also depends on what you use it for. If you're mostly stationary with just a little bit of driving, maybe it's not so crucial, but then there's some people who are driving all the time with these machines and almost driving more than you are lifting. So it really depends, but regardless, having these machines is not an easy thing to keep up with. So you can see evidence that that drive shaft is hitting against this housing, and it's actually worn a groove in there. And I don't think that it's even supposed to be close to that. I think it's supposed to be positioned with a snap ring further back. This is a Spicer 1350 axle, and I might be wrong about this, but I think it was used on the 644 and the 1044. But this is an 844, and it's just a straight 844, not B or C. I think this would probably be a good place to end this video, because we definitely have a lot more work, and I'm not trying to cram it into this video. We got that whole situation. We've got to rebuild several cylinders. This cylinder right here is leaking like crazy. I got to keep a bucket underneath of it, because now that I put more fluid in it and I ran it, it's just absolutely pouring out of that cylinder. And that thing is over 8 feet long. So that will be fun. So I'm going to order the seal kit for that. This cylinder right here is leaking a lot, and I definitely got to deal with that. And then this cylinder right here is leaking a lot. Definitely got to deal with that. 3 out of the 4 steering cylinders are leaking. That's not as crucial because it's not dripping all over the place, but it's still something that needs to be addressed eventually. I think the extension cylinder is actually not that bad. It's like weeping, but it's not dripping. So might leave that alone. But just rebuilding those cylinders is probably a whole video by itself, because I can see that's a lot of work. And then we got to get involved in the planetaries. I got to somehow find a drive shaft. The problem with these machines is there's no weight on the front at all. So right now it's front wheel drive, which is great for like a car because it's got the engine in the front. But this thing, unless you put a load on the front, it's got no traction. I was backing this thing out of here, and the brakes were locking up on the front but not the rear, and it was just sliding backwards. The engine wasn't even propelling it. It was just the little bit of a decline coming out of here was just enough to keep it going, and I couldn't actually stop the machine because these tires were just skidding, because there's just literally no weight on the front. You could shift the boom forward. That gives it definitely more weight. One of you guys might have some spare parts for this machine, and before I go searching all over the place and paying an arm and a leg, I've had many situations where you guys have reached out in the comments and had spare parts, and I was able to make that work much better than trying to find them on my own. Or some of you have reached out and you know somebody or have seen somebody that has the parts that I need, and that's also worked out very well too. So I'm gonna try to pool my resources with you guys and see if maybe you guys know of any Spicer 1350 axles for these machines that maybe I can just buy those and drop them in here. Because I'm really not trying to take parts from the other machine, although they probably would work. I don't want to end up with one machine when I'm done. I want to end up with 2 working machines. And this is the first time I've really ever bought machines with the intention of fixing and then flipping them. I don't normally do that. I just buy machines for myself. But in this case, these were just too good of a deal to pass up, but I really didn't need them. But I figured they could sell. So I guess what I'm trying to say with that is I don't want to spend a fortune, because then it would just be running in circles for no reason. I don't want to work on a machine for weeks just to sell it for what I have in parts. That doesn't make any sense. So Area Diesel Service really helped me out a lot, and that will definitely help with the whole situation. But I can still end up with a huge bill just in other parts when I start to get involved in axles and drive shafts and planetary parts. You know, seals and hoses and stuff, that's not too bad because I have my own hose making capabilities at this moment. So that's not an issue. And then the seals are never really expensive, and they're readily available. Just takes some time. But when you get involved in differentials and axles and stuff, that can be pricey. Also, these axles are the same on the front and rear. They're both a Spicer 1350. One of them has, I think, some sort of locking mechanism in it. I think it's the front one. But other than that, they're exactly identical. So let me know in the comments if you know anybody or have some parts that you know I could use. And again, big shout out to Area Diesel Service for helping me out with this machine and the other machine. Definitely check them out. Definitely check their channel out. Check the video that's linked to this video out. I'll link it to this video, and I'll link it to the other machine, the video for that machine too as well, because they rebuilt both of the pumps for both of these machines into one video that they have. And just like everybody else on YouTube, they're trying to build up their channel too. So check them out. Check their website out. Anything to do with diesel they deal with. They deal more with like turbos and stuff now, but they still do fuel stuff like injectors, injection pumps, filtration. And you know, I was gonna rebuild those pumps myself, but after watching what they did, I just don't think that I even had a fair chance on trying to do that. I thought maybe I could if it was something simple, but they were not simple. Just watch the video, because you'll see that those pumps were absolutely shot. Basically, there was nothing left of one of them, and the other one needed a part that was worth almost as much as the whole pump. And they have testing and calibration equipment that would cost probably hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I just would not have access to that if I did it. So anyways, that's it for this video, guys. Check Area Diesel Service out. I'll leave a link in the description for the video and their website. And I'll get going on trying to find some parts. Let me know if you have any parts, and I will see you on the next video.